back at Bill's car. We've looked these over. Some of these curves and bends in here are actually from the door. They belong in there. We're talking about saving some time and money using his panels because the aluminum piece and trim is all still riveted to it. The bends and the shape, a little bit of warpage, but he thinks he can steam that and get it out. The actual shape here fits the contour of the door. They're cut to the door. These look like the original ones, Rob. They got wax marks on the back. 1051, that's the serial number of the car. Yeah, so we'll try to use the original door panels. He's putting a helicoil in here because they had some big honking rivet trying to hold this mechanism together back here. We don't have these, so we're gonna we got a set of used ones. I took a picture of it. I'll see if the customer actually has his. If not, he'll have to either buy new ones or decent used ones that we have. So he's got the trim on that you see there, the wind lacing and so on over here. Dash repaired. I think I showed that before.
The holes are drilled and these are fit.
Yeah, the trim that goes up holds the kick panel and stuff in.
Drill the holes through these. That's an 1/8" plate.
Yeah, they got a little overkill. He was telling me that they put 1/8" thick plate up there instead of 20 gauge sheet metal or even 18 gauge sheet metal. They got 10 gauge sheet metal put on there. So just trying to put a small screw in, it just snaps right off. So you've got to pre-drill the hole almost to the size of the threads in order to get the threads to bite without snapping. So that was kind of a pain in the neck. Did they do that to both sides? Both sides are that way? So the repairs that they did down in here were really heavy metal.
No, we might do it. Might not. I don't know. There's supposed to be a nut in here that holds the corner of that dash.
There's supposed to be a bolt that goes into a threaded hole, right?
There's supposed to be a nut welded to that panel.
Yeah, that a bolt goes into.
Yeah.
And there's nothing there?
There is nothing there.
So we'll have to figure out where that is and cut a hole and weld a nut in. The bottom of the dash won't have anything to attach to.
Probably.
How about pre-drilling a hole using a sheet metal screw into the, because it's sealed, right?
Yeah, it's sealed.
All right, so we'll just mark it, punch a hole, and use a sheet metal screw.
I'll do it. I don't know if I'll do it like that or put a rib nut and drill a hole and put a rib nut in there.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. At this point,
the bottom corners of the dash are kind of cut out and messed up.
Yeah, I know they cut the knot. They notched them. So
I might just run a screw right through the dash, right through the.
It won't be seen because it's underneath.
Right.
Okay. We got to modify these doors yet, or did you start that yet? Not yet?
I marked it out though.
Oh, I see it where you've got the holes marked. Okay. Yeah, it's a little late to be swapping doors and repainting and all that, so.
Drill those.
All right, we'll get back in a few more hours.
Drill these taps down and get it moved and get people's names put on the rack.
I started recording while the lens cover was on. So, you've got these all stripped down.
Kinda.
And getting them prepped.
They had them
We're
stripped.
prepping right now.
We're prepping.
We're just fixing.
Are these his
stuff.
sun visors?
Yes.
Yeah,
They're destroyed.
Yes.
Wow.
He's going to try to sandblast them, he said.
Well, let me look at this end here.
Sandblast them.
So this is
You know,
what,
if that blasts and comes decent, you can still clamp it. It might still work.
I'll make them work.
we saved all the pieces. That's what this is.
Yeah, I got it running.
See, this is what all the pieces that came.
Yeah. Well, if he can clean it up, fog a little primer on there.
These were just somebody's idea of how to do a sun.
Yeah, I know.
So,
They started the door panels too. And
I know.
so
So
we're getting everything cleaned up here to get this on. I have test fit the a used pair of stone guards to the car. We're sending those off, and we're sending the bumpers and the guards, and those are going off today. so that we can get them over to, I believe it's New York, and get them in their hands this week, because he's coming down from Canada to pick them up. We're not going to send these stone guards. They're no way. They've been plated too thick, repaired too much, and they'll probably dissolve when they stick them back in the dip tank. So, not going to do that. We're going to pick up some padding. The padding here has kind of oozed over the side, and
the burlap's got holes all over it.
that burlap's not a big issue. This seat has been re-burlapped, it looks like, at one time when they messed with it before. We'll get some shots later when they start putting the upholstery back on.
The door panel.
What are you doing with the go-go gadget?
Trying to get the glue off the back of the door so that the new glue will adhere.
And they put a lot on there. Just gotta let it soak.
There is a lot of staples in these.
And nails. Tags.
Soaking the glue off. Okay, so this is after we cleaned them out. So now everything should stick very nicely. He's working on fixing,
These might be too sharp.
what's it, the wood door handle? The wood,
Yeah, this is the armrest.
the armrest.
The ends are broke apart.
Are broken and cracked.
The rubber's all coming apart. So we're gonna have to put new rubber on the top of that.
And glue all the cracks
And
back
then
together.
Glue everything back together. Yeah.
Do some clamping. Okay. This one here, still in its process of being torn apart. That's the handle. So we're trying to pry off all the stuff down below here and get into here. You can always already tell there's pieces coming apart that will need to be glued back together. Glue to clean off again.
Yeah, that's it.
So, almost clean. Need to soak it one more time, I think, and scratch it all and see if we can get that all out. So here are the armrests. You can see that they're old. I'm gonna have to replace the foam. It's just disintegrating. Over here we have soaking again to get the glue off.
That's right. I don't know if that's going to cover a little more on this edge. We'll see when we lay the panel out on here.
Okay, this is the first
I moved the whole
seat. Got it nicely padded. We'll steam it a little bit. It needs time to stretch out a little, but come out real nice. We're using the original cotton material, adding extra as we need it. They do have a problem that they came up with. The armrest wood
I filmed that already.
was pretty much destroyed, so we already filmed it.
Yeah.
You have to tell me these things, so I'm not redoing what we already doo-dooed. We already doo-dooed it? Okay. All right. So we'll get back after we spend a little more time on the interior. We've gotten the seat bottoms done. The seat backs are being worked on now. And we are laying out, cutting and fitting the door panel trim and leather down into the door pockets and coating those. We had to replace some of the rotten wood. So we've had to put some of the wood on here. Looks like we're going to be replacing most of the wood on the other one. And we're replacing the wood for the armrest trim. Was all cracked and split. I don't know if I filmed that or not. Looks like he's using the wood, the old wood on one panel here and replacing it on the others. We'll probably not use this set. If I find the old wood here, pretty sure he said he needed this armrest trim as well. If I find the old stuff, I don't remember if I filmed it or not, but if not, I'll find it here and film it. But it was pretty shot. I don't see it here. You can see even the wood on top of the door here is pretty cracked, but I think he's already glued that up and repaired it. Cleaned all the old garbage off, and we'll be putting that. This will be leather. This will be leather covered here. The strips for that are right here. But I don't see the old armrest trim wood. Ah, there it is on the floor. You can see it's in pieces. All the wood is split. This is delaminated and broken off. You can see it came apart from here. This is a used one they were going to try and use, but it came apart here too. So here's the two that he had, or pieces that he had, and they're completely coming apart, and the foam is all rotted and peeling in pieces. So we have to actually refoam and repad them as well. So that's why they used new wood. We'll get back another couple days here. So this is kind of tedious. Still has to leather the dash, but get a little farther along on these door panels and we'll get shots of those.
And tweak it. And then
All right, we're back on Bill's car. Didn't know we're getting the front suspension ready to go back together and put back in here. So he's looking things over. Finds out that this whole area here has been rebuilt. I don't have a different car on the hoist to show you, but right here belongs a large oval hole, and on this back side belongs a large oval hole to allow the tachometer cable, speedometer cable coming off the transmission to come through here, come up around and go through the firewall into the dash. So there's no hole here. The other side of this is supposed to have a pushed impression kinked into it. Isn't this notched also?
Yeah, this is notched and this is supposed to be done.
Okay, there's supposed to be you can't see very well. There's supposed to be an indentation in this frame, which by the way is very heavy, like 1/8 inch thick. It's supposed to be an indentation, and I believe this flange is cut away. The exhaust header has to come down through here, and then your exhaust pipe attaches. The other thing we noticed, do you have that little piece in your hand that we brought back here?
I don't know where I'm saying.
There's a bracket that sits right here and welds on the frame that hangs out this way to mount the exhaust system on, and they didn't realize that.
Probably in the end.
They didn't realize that, so it's not here. I don't know what they did here. Do you think they jacked the car up here or something?
No, they smashed this end.
This is all
so
tweaked.
Right here too.
So we got to put something in there and try and straighten that out.
Shove something in there and bend it.
All right, so we got to kind of straighten.
Just leave them like that.
Try and straighten.
Drains go back.
Well, yeah, but look,
Fine.
it doesn't look uniform.
Well, nothing looks uniform in this car.
You know, so
They welded a flange on this all the way across.
yeah, we're gonna seam seal this too. By the way, this is all open. This is all open here.
Did you see this?
What?
They welded this a step in this all the way.
That was never on the car originally.
No, it was
They
floating.
added a reinforcing step. Then they welded a piece in back here. Oh, we showed that before, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, probably.
Welded a piece back in back here. So we're gonna have to.
There's no holes for brake lines to go through out to the wheels either side.
They must have patched this in here too then.
I don't know what they did.
Or put a wheel. Yeah, you gotta have brake line holes. There's at least one for the metal brake line
Yeah.
coming through, and then the rubber hose comes out to the wheel.
Yeah.
We'll have to bore that in there too.
And there's no, I don't even know if you could fit the splash shields in here.
There's no holes for the splash shield,
Distorted.
and the shape isn't even. We don't even know if the shape is right. So we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. Probably should do that before the front suspension goes up in.
Definitely we'll do that before
Before the front suspension's up in our way. Same thing here. We'll have to set it back in there. Do you have even splash shields?
No.
Because as rusty as this car was, I'm guessing that those were dissolved.
Yeah.
I'll get a pair of those out of stock. So we're in the process. I've already showed the interior and so on. We have a lot of that done. Stuff done inside the car. We're working on the door panels next, and a lot of this is finished up. It's already been putting some new wood. The wood was all rotted away. It's putting some new wood on the door panel pieces. He's actually having to cut new foam for the top because the foam is obliterated. Is this his, or is this one of the spare pieces we had around? This is his, so you can see the condition that his is in. This should look like this. Ends broken off. the foam is coming apart, just kind of rolls and falls apart in your hands.
It's got so many holes in it, you gotta nail.
Yeah, you gotta have
all
to.
your trim.
You're supposed to have little nails that hold the aluminum trim on, and it's so perforated
And the leather.
that's not gonna fly. So we'll get shots of that. I'm not sure what to do. We're gonna have to hold an exhaust header
You can't hold
up in there and get an idea of.
You gotta mount it to the motor and put the
I know, but then we got to pull everything back apart again.
No,
And
you can pull just the exhaust header off and cut the header to fit the hole. That would be your easiest way. Cut that frame apart.
heat the header up and bend it out of the way.
Yeah, you just put a slice in it and then bend it.
And fill it.
Bend it and then fill it. I don't know what else to do.
We'll have to see, but modifications are going to be in order to make the engine and everything go back in because he didn't modify the right frame rail like they're supposed to.
Frame the way it's supposed to.
All right, well, we'll keep plugging away. Another thing, it's maybe a minor thing, but you can see, again, we did not paint this car. You can see these little runs that are kind of dripping down here. This one is chipped. We didn't do anything to really cause that, but the problem that he's kind of worried about is watch the paint here.
Not adhering to the car.
It's not sticking to the bottom of the nose panel right here. I can kind of flip it up and peel it out of the way. I'm going to do this because it has to be touched up. I'm not going to do it very high, but you can see.
Start peeling on that. That could go a long way.
You can see that this may go clean up into the nose panel. I don't know. It's really low under the car, but you can see this jagged stuff here hanging down. You see it moving. It's not adhered at all. It's hanging down. I think I'm gonna break it off here. You can see it snapping. But the problem is, it's not adhered to the paint. I shouldn't ever be able to peel it like that. So I don't know if this wasn't quite sanded properly or prepped, but this leather would have to be touched up, and I'm not going to peel it anymore because I'm afraid it'll zip up in. Same thing here. We'll break these off, and then maybe we'll just leave them alone because I don't want to cause an issue. Let the body guy that painted it kind of clean that up. So again, it's not major, but it is something that'll have to be looked at. The suspension will be in here. It should be out of the way enough where they can do any repairs to that they need to do. All right, back out here now. You got a flashlight by chance?
No. He does.
They didn't put the hole in here for the cable because they probably didn't understand that it had to have it. And then they put a reinforcement plate inside, which was good and bad. Because now we have to get inside of there somehow, cut through that heavy plate that's in there, because the cable has to go through this, inside of here, come out way back here, because it comes through this, so it doesn't have to be kinked, and it goes right here to the transmission. Right? Oops, I gotta back up. It goes right at an angle through this frame, comes out in here someplace, comes straight out to the transmission. Otherwise, we gotta kink it, come here, and put a really sharp kink in it, which I don't think will work. I think it'll destroy the cable. So we gotta cut through that blasted reinforcement. I don't know how many there are, and then try to make it to here. And if they put several in here, we're screwed because we can't get in there with anything else. So you really have to cut the hole back there for me so I can see where it belongs. And then you got to put a rod in there and see if there's any other reinforcement closer than this one on that side. If there is, we have to abandon this and do something different with the cable. I don't know what else to tell you. I can elongate this hole get a right angle drill and cut through that plate.
How do you think I drilled that hole?
With a right angle drill?
It's the only way you're gonna drill.
So we can elongate this, get in there at an angle with a round bit, cut through that reinforcement. But if there's another one in there, we're in big trouble. So
Spend $400 and you buy it right
measure on a car where this hole goes, put it in the right spot, and we'll go from there. We'll get back in a bit. We're going through the knobs and switches off of Bill's old harness and cleaning them up.
Oh, I did find those 2 junction blocks too. They were
Okay.
in a box by that box of wiring too. I don't have to go for those.
Oh, this is broken.
Yeah, the whole end's gone.
Oh, the whole end is broken off of his fuse box. So we've dug out around in our stuff and found actually a nice clean one.
Well, I sandblasted them.
Oh, did you?
Okay, yeah, the tips of these were corroded.
Oh, you get corrosion on the copper.
Yeah, they were a little green, so I thought, nah, I'll just blast it that way.
So we've got to use fuse box. Can't use this one. Can't bolt it in. There's no tab over here for mounting it.
Yeah, it'll just sit.
And we'll go through these gauges and the switches and the lights. If that won't clean up,
Yeah.
Steve may be stocking the replacement lenses. That one will be okay. Ooh, that's a rarity. He's got a good one.
Yeah.
Hopefully it works.
I could not find any keys, so hopefully we can find keys.
Hopefully we can find keys, because that's going to be a bummer. I have to tear this apart and make a key for it, and that's not going to be easy.
Those don't come apart very good.
No, they don't come apart easy at all. There's actually, you see that little dent right there? That little punch mark?
Yeah.
You got to drill that out. I'm pretty sure there's like a spring clip inside.
Yeah.
You drill that out, and I think it allows it. But then when you put it back together, you got to punch it
Yeah.
somewhere else, and I think that's how it comes apart. I'm just not that pushed in
Right.
square piece. I think they punch a dent right there by it. I'm pretty sure that's how that's held together.
I wonder if the keys are in the glove box. So. No.
We can look.
They're not.
So he's cleaning up. They've painted all this kind of stuff to go in there. He's got all kinds of pieces around here. He's got pieces painted for the rear axle.
I put the insulation under the dash.
Okay. He's got the blocks here that go for attaching
All the grommets are
attaching the wiring. Grommets are in.
sealed around the back sides of all the grommets. Sealer and then
New insulation package up underneath the dash. They call it anti-squeak or anti-vibration pieces. Got a couple more pieces. It's also an insulation for heat.
they're to hold the heat away from
The wiring and everything else under there. So I had an idea while I was filming that rail on the other car. If we heated that up on one side, if we could get one of our great big C-clamps in there with a pad, I could attempt to, you're going to ruin the paint, but it's in an area where I think we can repaint it halfway decent. So
Well, it's 2 different colors.
I know we'll distort the color of the bottom one too by heating the upper. We'll have to see. But anyway, that's my thought. We can attempt that. Attempt to clamp a clamp on there and crush it after we heat it up real hot. That might solve the problem of altering the header. So
Well,
we're gonna get back here. We're gonna discuss what we're gonna do with that frame rail, and we'll film what we're gonna do.
I'd like to.
Okay, back on Bill's car. Here's the cover for the fuse box. The guys have a paper that either goes in this or in the fuse box. It gives you the location of the different things. It must be one of those. That looks halfway decent. Otherwise, they may have a new one.
They have no one.
So we got a really nice fuse box here. He's cleaning up all the knobs. You clear coating them?
Yeah.
Just clear coating the knobs, dimmer switch, going through everything here, making sure that it operates. You have to put everything back in there and it doesn't work. Rear wiring and all that stuff is in. This goes to the fuel tank sending unit. Taillights are all mounted. Grommets for the bumpers and so on are mounted.
All these switches and stuff got sand.
Switches are all covered with sand, so somebody must have sandblasted around them or whatever.
School he brought the car to have.
So this, okay, we got a variety of cables here that we're going through. These are the control lever pieces for like heater boxes and the sides of the heater boxes. Do we have enough of this stuff sent out for plating that we can
I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'll paint it black.
put some on here or whatever?
It's supposed to be black anyway.
Got to determine
That's junk.
the cables are all frayed here. This looks like it's to the generator.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got nasty wires in that. This is the insulation. If the cable operates properly, we may have shrink tube we can put over this. If the cable is smooth, and it feels like it is, so some of these cables you don't have choice but to use them over because they're non-existent. So like this one. Yeah, any of the choke cables or cables that have switches built into them. There might be a company in Europe that will tear this all apart and rebuild it, but we got to try and save this as much as possible. The speedometer cable, I don't know why, without looking at it further, it looks like it may have split. They've got it held together with a hose clamp. That's not going to fly. Obviously not proper. So he's going to need a couple cables and some shrink wrap for some of them. These cables that we really can't replace, where the insulation is just falling off like mad, we'll scrape it and peel it, make sure the cable operates properly. This one is broken completely off. Rob, is there enough sticking out of here? Because you got an inch and a half down there.
What?
Is there enough here to make it operational? What is that one? Oh, that's the advance for the distributor. Yeah, there may be enough. We'll have to see if there's enough length here. Again, we'll put shrink tubing over it, and that'll make it look new. So, plenty more to do. We'll keep plugging away. All right, on Bill's car, got the grommet in. Early car, late grommet. Some modifications had to be done, but he got it to work and to fit. This side will be put in next. Now the wiring's pulled through. Cannot find a voltage regulator in any of his pieces or boxes.
Not in here either. I thought maybe.
So we're gonna have to get him. He's ready to mount the voltage regulator over here on the wall and wire it. You can see he's putting terminal blocks and so on for the wiring as it's pulled through. And we're continuing to work on his door panels.
I gotta drill holes out.
Seats are done. Seat bottoms and seat backs are done. Working on the door panels.
Drill out the holes for the brake hoses too.
Yeah, there's no holes for the brake hoses. When they did repairs, there's no holes in the inner fenders to bring the brake lines and stuff through. So we got to drill those. We got to be careful because it's all painted.
Yeah,
We'll get back in a while.
I had to drill holes for the junction blocks on the firewall and on the for all of it stuff. So
This is Bill's windshield wiper motor.
Yeah.
Pretty grubby, wasn't it? So we had to pull it apart. All the grease and everything was like mud. Inspecting the gears. They actually...
When I turned it out, it sounded like it had sand and stuff in it.
Oh, it probably did. Growled and gravelly. Yeah.
So I pulled it all out.
There was a lot of crap inside. You were able to clean the gears up pretty nice, though.
Yeah, I cleaned out where the brush was going and everything.
So you can see that this is the kind of debris that was all up inside of here. He's got it cleaned up. Right now we're pulling down the wiper or the windshield frame because there's a pretty good sized dent in the frame. It'll need to be stripped, repaired, and then plated. I'm actually going to a plater about 35 miles away, so I want to take this with me and get their opinion. Time's running out, so to speak, and the only plater we feel real comfortable with on this is a company down in Alabama, Graves. They do excellent work, but this frame here I think is about $1,200 or more to have plated and repaired. You're going to get a price of a company, and they're usually 3 to 5 months
Rush, put a rush on it.
Behind.
Cost you a little more.
You know, so I'm going to talk to the company here, not real far away, see when we can get this in and what it's going to cost. So we'll get some shots of that shortly. I don't know if he shot here. He's got the wiring pretty much pulled through up under the under the hood is.
Yeah, I got the wiring into the parking lights and everything else.
You know, under the hood is
Voltage regulator.
on. You found a voltage regulator.
Got a new one.
Okay. Seats are done, just need to be assembled. We are still working on the door panels. So we'll get back after I get back from the plater to get an idea what this is going to cost and how much time it's going to take. Bottom Bill's car, we're running brake lines and so on. The one more little snag here, this brace. They built one and put it on here. You can see they welded it on. The only problem is the brace belongs over here. And when you bring in lines, rubber lines that are flexible, you can get away with a little bit of that. But there's lines that go out in the rear axle. This line has to come over to here, and it no longer fits. So what I did was took the line that belongs there to inventory, and we found a line that's 2 inches longer, not for a 190 in this location, but it will work. So we'll be taking this line and putting it in instead of this line. So I got to sell him this line and take back this line. So that's what we'll do. We have a lot of, I probably filmed a lot of this already. A lot of wiring, brakes, stuff is in. Master cylinder. I don't think I've filmed it yet, but the dash, I was off for a few days last week. The dash is in as far as the leather on top of the dash. We'll film that in a little bit. Customer will be here tomorrow to see what we've got going so far. We'll get back in a little bit. This is Bill's rear axle rubber mount. You can see that it's pretty much shot. They left this in the car and painted all around it. It took about an hour to get this out of the car. It was so stuck, so jammed in there. And it took me a while just to get this plate that we need back off. You can see that the rubber has stuck to it. We need this plate. So finally got that ripped off of there. It was stuck for who knows how many years, and the rubber actually tore off because the rubber is all weather chucked and cracked and shot. This stuff's like almost as hard as a hockey puck. So they finally worked the putty knife around it, and pried, and finally got it off. Couldn't get the plate off, so I just pried on it here for a while with that until I could work it and peel it. Finally got it ripped off. We'll discuss with the customer what he wants to do with these seat mounts. These are his seat tilt brackets. And there are pieces and parts broken off and missing. This is supposed to have, oh, one of them does, 2 arms. This is breaking. You can see that that's bent crooked. That will break. Oh, it already is broken. It's broken down inside there.
Here's these pieces.
So I don't believe I can get these arms anymore. I used to be able to, but this isn't very nice and shiny. Should be re-chromed. A little late in the game for that. We dug these out here just the other day. This is the only lever working properly. A rubber goes on it. But I don't think these are going to polish up and look very nice on his new leather. Here's his leather. The door panels are partly done, not quite all the way yet. Waiting a little bit on those till we get that other door fixed and drilled and tapped out and make sure everything fits properly, and then we'll finish covering that. But the seats, bottoms and backs are done.
Yeah, driver's door panel.
We want to make sure it fits before we modify or do anything. So when they swapped doors or took the doors apart, they drilled out all the rivets and screws that held these channels on, which isn't necessary. These all have to be fitted.
They're going on black.
Oh, these are, yeah, these normally leave these on and paint them the same color as the car. So we can't do that any longer. We don't have any body color. So they're going to go back on. But these had you put back on. That takes time.
I'll drill out new ones and use new ones instead of all.
These are the old ones for the door.
Beat up.
Where the door. This is where the door panel tucks into.
Take you more to clean it and polish it.
Yeah, these are bent and kind of nasty. So we're going to put new ones on. He'll drill holes where he needs to and sink them in. And then the door panel will tuck down into this, which will look a lot better than that. So these are things that take extra time that you don't plan on. Has heater control cables. I don't know if I filmed them, but they're really nasty. you know, they're
all bent. I mean, you can straighten the cable, but it's just gonna break.
yeah, they're bent and kinked. The insulation's peeled. We have to save these. We can put a new shrink tube over them, but if they're kinked and bent and they're going to break, then it doesn't pay. It takes more labor to try and fix it. Something we have to fix would be the ones with the switch on them. So we'll have to do that. I'm flashing that the battery's about dead, so I'm going to run in and plug this thing in, and we'll get some shots later. These are all the pieces going on his car for...
those are just all pieces that, probably not all going on this car. Because that's all the brake pins.
Yep. Oh, so it might be more than one car's worth.
Yeah.
All right, we'll get back. I got to go charge the battery up on this beast. There was one more thing. The brushes were toast in his heater blower motor. So he found one that didn't work well or froze up, but the brushes were decent. And he's going to try and swap brushes over to get his blower motor working.
Yeah.
So
here's his brushes. Here's the brushes out of the other.
the brushes should be like that long.
Yeah,
You can see that his are toast. And here's
somebody drilled these out.
here's a set of brushes that we're going to put in.
They drilled these out and ran these big long bolts in them.
Oh, so they kind of cannibalized his blower in the first
We're
place.
still gonna have to use it like that because these screws aren't gonna work.
So another small issue, but again, a time-consuming issue. All right, we'll get back in a bit. Okay, back on Bill's car. We have the front suspension pretty much all assembled, aren't you? You can see the nice plated things that we had done here. Make it look a lot nicer, new bolts.
I can't guarantee that steering box ain't gonna leak.
Steering box a little sloppy.
No, it's got a ding in where this lower seal goes.
Oh, it's got
On
it's got
side,
smacked.
it's got
Oh, it's dented.
smacked.
It's dented right here.
I pried it out as much as I could.
All right, we'll have to
It
kind of
was like
play it by
folded-
ear.
It was like almost folded right.
You can see these nice plated pieces here. Makes it look a little better. New bolt kits.
The steering box is full. It ain't leaking yet.
Steering box is full.
Yeah.
There's no leaks yet. Okay, that's a good sign. We shall see. Doesn't that use just a gear lube?
Yep.
90 weight gear lube?
Anyway, gear lube.
Okay. Okay, so we got that. You put the rear end together already?
There. Other side of the car. I'll stand.
This is all assembled. New cylinders, the plated brackets. If you remember correctly, the bracket on the body is welded in the wrong spot, so we had to change the brake line, which we already did. You had to put a new cable in here, it looks like,
Yeah.
and one of these, right?
Yeah.
One or both?
One.
One.
That one.
This one's new. Steve has it on a sales order, I'm assuming. We'll have to look it over just to make sure. And his springs, shocks are ready to go in.
Well, with that
he's
one
pulled-
shock that's missing the part.
He's pulled the motor out, getting it ready to put in the car. We're just doing some inspection. Looks very nice, very clean here. This is
all the pitting and rust on the top of the can.
yeah, this is also a 928. This is also a 928 cylinder head.
Yeah.
This isn't an early 56 engine. These are late rocker arms.
Well, it doesn't matter. It's a sedan block.
It's a sedan. It's a sedan engine with a 928 cylinder head on it. But it is the correct cylinder head for a 190 SL, just a 1962. Late 61 or 62.
Yeah.
Now, timing chain looks new. Upper gear. This is a new gear. So
It's worn a little.
timing chain upper gear is worn some, but not destroyed. There's probably 30% wear on it. What concerns me here is that I don't like at all is the gear here.
The hell?
Yeah, where's the gear that?
If you look
Where's the
at-
new gear?
if you
Pull that
look
out of the
at
box. Yeah, pull it out of the box. They did not change this. They did not change the tensioner gear, and that's not good. You don't put one gear in. I'm having a hard time focusing here. I don't know what's going on. Turn that light off a second. See if it makes any difference. All right, you see how those tops of the peaks of the gears are pointed. Okay, I'm going to move over to the new one. You see how flat the tops of each gear is. Back to this one, sharp and pointed. You got a new chain running over worn out gears. This one's about 30% worn. It's not the end of the world. You probably could live with that. This is completely worn out. The tops are almost sharp. You can see that the difference in the thickness here. How do we inspect the one down in there farther?
Rip the motor apart.
I can see it from here. It's sharp as can be. You see,
Sharper than the other one.
yeah.
It's
Let me
attached, right?
let me have the flashlight. Let me see if I can light that up down inside enough to see this. I'm gonna have to get the head of this just right. It's having a really hard time focusing. Anyway, those gears down in there are sharp to a point. There we go. They are not flat on top like they should be, which tells me the crank gear is probably the same. So I'm gonna make a phone call to this customer and ask him if he wants us to leave this the way it is, or if he wants us to pull it down and put gears in it. Top gear probably could live with, but if we have to put the other gears in, and you see the difference in the thickness. It's not a lot, but there is a difference. The new gear is about 25%, maybe 30% thicker on the peaks than that. So a new chain went on over top of whatever gears were in there, and I never like seeing that. The cylinder head does look nice, like they did some machining and work on the head. Camshaft is quite pitted, but it's not where, this is where the rocker arm doesn't ride. It rides on from this point up over the peak, so probably going to be okay. And after this is run for a little while, these might shine up. Gotta feel these. Rob, is it just me or does that lobe look worn?
Well, a couple of them look worn.
It doesn't look as tall. I would have to take a caliper and
Yeah, that's the only way you're gonna know. for sure.
take a caliper. Let's just take a caliper and check them rather than throw this thing together and not know. I want to take a caliper to these lobes. It's just like this lobe looks nice and, you know, nice sharp radius. This looks washed out, like it's got a flat spot in it. And it might be just my eyes and the angle that I'm looking at this at, but I see like grooves, you know, like
Somebody tried to polish.
worn spot. I don't know, worn spots, or someone tried to sand it or something here. And it may not affect the way the car runs enough to worry about, but the head looks very nice, like they did a lot of work on it, cleaned it all up nicely, shaved it down,
Cleaned it.
and so on. We don't know what the valves and stuff look like down below. So, what is this here?
That washer.
Yeah, what is that?
Spacer for the distributor. It's new.
So there, this is where the distributor is going to mount.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good there, right?
Yeah, I just one got that spacer.
Okay, so the spacer was missing,
Yeah.
and you just put one in. Okay. Because I remember seeing a hole there, a gap there. All right. This is the material that we had to saw out inside the frame where there was supposed to be a hole. We showed that earlier on in videos. We burned up 1 or 2 hole saws.
Burned up one
Burned up one hole saw?
$24 hole saw.
Yeah, burned up a hole saw going through here because it was so thick. It's nice that they put a piece in there, but it should have had a hole bored in it, allowing the cable to come through before they welded it in. And this was a real nightmare to reach in there. It had to reach in there deep and at an angle to bore through this. He burned up his $24 hole saw. Rob, I'm going to say, looks like they put a brand new ring gear. That ring gear looks really, really nice and clean.
It's nice.
I don't see any chips. I don't know if it's new, but it looks really nice. At least the gears that I can see, I don't see anywhere. I'm thinking they put a,
chamfered?
yeah, I'm thinking they put a new one in.
I'll say, 'cause I know a lot of people just flip them around.
Yeah, I'm thinking they might have stuck a new one in here. That looks really nice.
That works good for a little while.
So this is a 190 head because the intake ports are larger than the exhaust ports. These are the exhaust ports, these are the intake ports. So this is a 190 SL head, just a 1961 mid to 1963. And it'll be 8.7 compression ratio. The proper one for this car is 8.8, but not a huge deal as long as everything's put on here properly. The correct cam towers, and they are, spaces them up properly. Looks like the tensioner's working. I'm gonna make a phone call to the customer who's on vacation up in Canada and see what he wants to do with the gears. This is one of the originals.
It's got to go back in because you can't get them anymore.
Don't have much choice. It's not totally shot, but it's got some wear on it.
But it's worn.
Yeah. You can't buy these anymore? The only way to get them is to try and get better than this out of a used motor, huh?
Right.
These are the ones that go in the upper,
Top of the head.
the ones they completely forgot to put back in anyway. I did get the pins.
I had, yeah, the pins are right here. I did have to go get that for the top, for the head.
Okay, so the
Those
short
pins
one you're
are
not,
right here.
short
We
one you can't get anymore. These big ones you can.
Change all them gears and stuff. You've got to pull ahead. So
I'm hoping that'll still go back in. It's all mushroomed.
I'll go back.
These are the ones that were sent to us from Canada.
Drive them in the big one.
Well, I got to talk to him. So to do this, you got to pull the cylinder head off.
Change that bottom gear or that tensioner gear or the.
You got to pull the front vibration dampener and pulley off.
Basically, it's the distributor drive and the tack drive
Yep.
gear.
Well, you got to pull the front crank unit off to get at the inner gear.
I got to pull the oil fan off to get to the crank.
Yeah. Well, there's no gasket there. We'll put some RTV
Front
sealer on it.
seal.
But you're gonna ruin a $100 head gasket. No, man.
And hours of work pulling it all apart.
Yep.
And putting it all back together.
All right. I'll give him a holler. Anything else I need to see while we're...
Fuel pump that it's got.
Huh? That is not a correct fuel pump. It is a Pierberg, which is the German replacement. Have you tested it to see if it works?
Nope.
All right. So the fuel pump is wrong.
I just pulled all the stuff out of the box.
That's a sedan steering linkage bracket. The accelerator.
He doesn't have the other one. so
You're gonna
have to find one.
You may want to lay this on a sander.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, this one's shot. The threads are all torn out. And it's the wrong one.
It's
This
the right one. It's just all torn out.
Huh?
It's the right one. It's
These
just
threads are all stripped. Did you find a used one of these?
Well, I can find a used one. I didn't. I just pulled the stuff out of the box that was on the shelf of the motor.
Oh, this stuff was on the shelf of the motor so we could put the motor back together, put it back in the car. Yeah, you've got almost no threads left in here at all. You're going to have to find a used one. Otherwise, this has to be aluminum heliarced up and then retapped, and I'm not sure I have a tap that way, that size.
Yeah, I know. I don't. No, I'll sand them on a piece of glass.
Yeah, no, these look okay. Sometimes
I'll sand them on a piece of glass. just
these
to
get
make
all
it
elongated.
flat.
Yeah, you should. These get all elongated sometimes if the gaskets get torn, and these look nice. So I think you're going to be okay.
And the only other thing is we got to see if this is the same size as the exhaust. And the exhaust is kind of all butchered up.
Oh, the flange. Yeah. We have two sets of these, must be. These sway bar bolt kits. He must have bought one before and I gave you once.
I found one in a box.
Yeah, I'll credit him back. He doesn't need to pay for two of them. I'll credit him.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, they were in the engine parts box?
Yeah.
That's probably why I brought you a second set, because I didn't see them. But you've already got them on here, so I'll credit him back. Make sure he doesn't pay for two of them. Let me give him a
What else was there that we got?
let me give him a call.
Something else we got credit back. There's other parts we got built.
We pulled the manifold. Manifold actually looks in good shape. It should be sandblasted and painted with something so that it doesn't look so ugly under the hood. Eventually the paint will burn away, but you'll have a
Oh
nice coating on there.
no, it won't burn away.
You got some real high temp paint that'll go on there nice.
That's 1200 degrees.
Carburetors,
I don't have any, but we'll be-
pulled them out of the box. They have not been rebuilt or cleaned. We don't know how well they operate. We're going to at least clean them.
Pull the top cover off. Make sure.
Pull top cover off, make sure it's not full of debris and sludge. Usually you can save that gasket over. If not, I have gaskets. He has a new exhaust, and yeah, the flange is burned and broken. You'll have to do some welding on this. Hold that up like that right there. I see daylight right through there. See, his flange is breaking off. So sandblast this.
I'll just cut it off.
Well, I have new ones, but if this isn't pitted horribly bad, sandblast it. I'll put a good bead of weld around there. And
Ain't gonna do that now. We're gonna fit this into the car first because I don't even know if we're gonna be able to put that in the car.
oh, this is the one where the car frame that they built isn't dented in.
Right. So I might have.
We may have to alter this.
Might have to change the angles of that
Well,
to fit into this car. I don't know. I won't know until I put the motor and tranny in it.
all right, that's probably a good idea. Then we'll have to pull
Like I
this.
said, I'll just
Have to
cut-
pull this back off.
Yeah.
Just cut these bolts and drop this thing off of here.
Yeah. I will.
We'll have to do some repair on the manifold.
Maybe.
Well, I can't leave a hole in
We'll
it.
have to repair it.
I can't leave a hole in it. We may have to alter it.
Replace it.
You might have to alter it or put that thing on there at a slight angle to miss the frame.
Just slice it,
Tweak it.
twist it,
All right.
re-weld it together. I don't know.
All right.
Gotta do something. to make
I'll get a hold of him.
the car, I don't know.
One more thing. I was inspecting this rubber. It looks like it's in decent shape, but as I'm turning it to look at it, we feel or hear a clunk. Hear that noise? That happens to be the head of this bolt whacking the back of the transmission right here. Hitting the transmission. Listen. See how much clearance this bolt has? They don't need much. Clearance. Hitting. Clear. Hitting. So the bolt's too long, or there's no washer where it belongs, where there's supposed to be a washer, something. You can see it's sticking out far enough. Maybe something as simple as we get in here with a cutoff wheel. If it's bolted in properly, we'll just grind it down. But it's things like this that we find every time we turn around that we have to correct. This needs to be sanded flat. This has to be mic'd here. This distance has to be mic'd. And it has to match this thickness here, because there's a flat washer, a thick flat washer that sits in here. And if these are a different thickness than the other, then the bolts will sit here, and the head will be angled and it can bend the bolt. These aren't going to be matched, so it's probably okay, but that stuff has to be tested. These will be put on a sheet of glass with a sandpaper, and it'll be polished up.
I don't know where that is.
These are missing the threaded in water tubes.
No, that's not the water.
Well, that's a plug.
It's a plug.
We got to find out where the plugs went, because that has to have a material put on it for sealant and a plug put in here. And he's got to have those because slight leakage. If not, we have to have those plugs. Yeah. So I'll give him a call. I'm making myself some notes as to what to talk to him about. So we'll get back.
I guess you could just stand over the car.
All right. Talk to Bill. He wants this done correctly. So only way to do it correctly is, unfortunately, pull the motor back partially apart. Want to grab onto that?
All apart except for the piston.
So we got a stand here from across the street. They do engine rebuilding. We'll go ahead and inspect this the seal. Oh, that's right. You're going to pull that metal collar off of there, and the seal, you have to put another one on.
That's full pan.
So the pan's got to come off. You may damage the front main seal. Yeah. So, and then the seal here would probably ruin that one too. So the chain's laying down in there, but these gears that are here are all pointed. Well, I think we already viewed them down in there anyway.
This is back that I don't quite so.
These are supposed to have very big flat areas, and these, not only are they pointed sharp, they have chips out of them. Yeah, here's the difference. New one versus old one. It's supposed to have a big flat area up here. These are sharp, almost sharp, and they're so sharp that the tips are chipping off. Chunks of them ripping off. So it was time to change these. A lot of wear in them. Same thing with the rest of them. We're not sure what this one looks like because we can't see it, so we got to literally flip it over and pull the oil pan and destroy some seals to even get to it. But we're going to change it because we're pretty sure none of that was done. If these weren't done, that wasn't done either. So we'll get back after we get it up on a stand, flip it over, inspect that bottom gear.
Looks good. All the valves.
So there's oil.
They cut. Yeah, there's oil in that corner and that corner. Pick that corner and that corner. Seal. Seal tight. Cylinder head gasket.
There's oil all over here.
fairly clean. This don't make a whole lot of sense, huh? This is the crank seal on the front of the motor. As you can see, this edge of this seal right here should be right up against this oil pan. It's like halfway in to the oil pan. It should be all the way in. So they never put the oil seal in all the way. So you run the risk of it falling out. Plus it might not seal on the crank. That's just another problem I found.
That's a seal ring.
It goes on the crank, seals your front seal. Okay.
And how did you find it on there?
And this was on here this way, with this lip sticking out. That lip is supposed to be turned around that way to clear the keyway for the crank gear. On there backwards.
Okay. We'll fix that too.
Back on Bill's motor. Cleaned this up. Sprayed it with an aluminum coated high temperature paint so it looks really nice. It was all wire brushed kind of before. Obviously it's been smacked and welded up, which is common. Decided to pull a bearing cap off a rod bearing and a main bearing just to make sure that they're clean and that they look nice, that they don't have a lot of wear on them.
That's that coating that they put on the bearing.
Yeah, it's really not.
It's just starting to come off.
It's just starting to wear off. It's not a problem.
And that's that anti-friction coating.
All right, so they're not shot. So we're putting guides where guides are needed. Has a new chain.
This one they did replace.
That's a replaced guide because
Yeah,
that's not the style that it came with.
Right, it came with these. This is the other bottom one. I didn't know if you wanted me to change that one and
No, it's okay.
put that one back in.
Yeah, this one's all right.
Pop it back in.
They actually painted the inside of the engine, didn't they?
No, it's factory.
Is that the factory coating inside the motor?
Yeah. You can wash that out, but it actually keeps the
It's a nice good coating, yeah.
Cool. It's a cooling agent.
You're gonna change half this main bearing,
Steel?
the rear main.
This
looks. How come the crankshaft looks so nasty back here? That's supposed to be. That's supposed to be smooth.
No, it has like little cross cuts in it.
Oh, does it?
Yeah. No, I think, well,
The front seal was. The front seal you filmed already.
probably should be replaced.
Here's my concern. I always leave these up about an 8,
Yeah, I know.
so they squeeze down in.
Well, and then this is cut down about an 8 or 16.
That's down inside a little bit. You're gonna have to put a new one in and let it sit up here with a tiny bit of sealer on the two tips and squash it. You can see it was squashed, and that's good.
Right.
Problem is that's low now and this is flush, so I'm afraid.
Then when I cleaned it, it took the graphite off.
I'm afraid that with high oil pressure.
Yeah, but you don't get any oil pressure.
Oh, that's right. You get splash back here.
Barely, because you have this shield that's right against the edge of the lip. So you really don't get anything back here.
I still feel more comfortable if you.
I mean, I could rubber seal that when I rubber seal the pan.
If you want to do that, that's fine. Because this isn't shot.
I need some like anti-seize
Put on it.
graphite.
All right, so he's got this mostly back together. We got to flip it over, put the oil pan on it, seal it, flip it back over. The head has to go on. He had to have a complete head gasket set. So,
Fuel pump gas, fuel pump block gas.
Yep.
You didn't have it. At least I didn't see one there. That's what the oil pan and everything looked like. Just kind of wire brushed
yeah,
here and there.
dark and kind of dingy in spots.
Right. And so I painted it so it actually looks normal.
Can we clean this up and paint it, or we got to tape everything
Well,
off?
I can unbolt it because it hasn't been ran. That seal should still be good.
I would paint it up, make it look nice. We're this far, leaving something kind of
I
dingy
did
looking
the
on
water pump because that's right in the open. And I did
there. Oh, you did the water pump and the thermostat cover.
in one of the boxes I found
That looks nice.
that new thermostat, or I mean a different thermostat housing with his parts.
Okay.
So he had two of them. So this one we don't need to bill him for. Because I found one in used parts that I was going to put on it because that
But you found one for his.
that
Okay.
one was broke, but I found another one in
Yeah, he'll be happy. He doesn't have to buy it.
the parts.
That'll be good. All right, we'll get back a couple hours when he starts getting things, starting to bolt back up. We just got the heater boxes back. We had these all rebuilt.
Of course.
They had all new cores put on the inside. And we just finished, or I've just finished painting them. We gotta make or cut a gasket that goes underneath it here. It's supposed to be not quite a 1/4 inch thick, is it?
Like an 1/8 of an inch thick. That one's going to have
This is gonna have to be a 1/4 because
at least.
the
I'm going to have to find rubber.
this unit, when installed, is rubbing the bottom. So we gotta fill this area.
Plus, I'll have to use some of your seat padding for the bottom of that core. Because
It doesn't want to rub on the.
It hits on both sides, but the bottom of it, you can stick your hand underneath the core.
This is the right core that's been all rebuilt. He's just now assembling that.
Yeah.
You also
Grind all this.
He also found a bracket, one of the castings on it, snapped in half.
New ones on that.
So he scrounged a used one out of our archives of old heater boxes and so on. This had a pin coming out of it, which he had to drill out and clean up. It's all dried now.
Yeah. Radiator should be dry too.
Radiator's been all gone through, and this has a brand new core inside. The mounting brackets here been all cut and altered. We're gonna have to see what we can do about that. We have this upper one mainly too, so we'll have to bolt this back in properly, but we don't have extra sides, so we had to use what we had. I probably showed this already, but these are all painted and are ready to be assembled. We can't finish this engine compartment. We want to do that before the motor goes in to mount all this. We couldn't do that till we got the heater cores back. They just came back, so there's a gasket that goes here, a wedgie gasket that goes right there. Booster's just sitting there, it's not bolted in yet. So the booster, the lines, all that needs to be done before the motor gets dropped in. The front suspension and the motor get dropped in. So that's why we're hustling to get the heater boxes installed.
I just grabbed them and was going to put them on, and then I found the friction washer.
We've got the front suspension installed, which means he's got a lot of the goodies in the engine compartment done, so that this isn't in the way. really looks nice with those zinc plated parts. Really sets it off. Really sets it off nicely.
Oh, these are new. Got these out of stock.
You didn't have any?
No, the nut and the.
You couldn't find them at all?
I couldn't find it all.
Okay. Well, they're nice yellow zinc too.
I tore all the baggies from all the little pieces that put on this. I stuck in that McDonald's bag.
Did you have to change this too because this bracket was in the wrong place, or was there enough flex in your hose?
No, I put a longer line on one.
Put a longer line here, and you put a longer line there too. I had to get you a different one for here.
Yeah.
I got you a 2-inch longer
Yes.
one. So you just had to put more bend in this one then.
Or less bend or whatever.
Well, it would be pushed this way, so you had to put a little bit more sweep in this one.
Yeah, one way or the other.
Ah,
I just bent the line one.
yeah. So, but it looks good.
Yeah.
It's coming along
The way
nice.
it's supposed to look.
And this is new,
Yeah.
and it goes to both sides. I just have to make sure that I build it out because I don't remember.
I think
I got to glance over this
you
thing.
build the rear end today.
Huh?
Build the rear end.
Oh, you put grease in it?
Yeah.
Well, we resealed it so it shouldn't leak. You changed this bushing here, I believe, and the bronze and the metal sleeves because I remember those are all worn out. Looks like you greased it.
Yeah. Everything's greased. Whole car is greased.
Here's the grease fitting. I feel a little bit of grease
The only
oozing.
thing I haven't greased yet is the drive shaft, and that's just because it ain't hooked up yet.
Well, the drive shaft has a new U-joint, which I don't.
It's non-greasable.
It's non-greasable, but we at least found them.
Right.
We bought some of the last ones in the world. I got to get a hold of Germany and let them know that I found them. They're exactly the right one, size and everything, but they don't make them anymore. And we have the only ones that the world has. So,
Don't tell Germany buy them all and friggin' sell them.
well, there was close to 100, and I bought, I think there was 90, and I bought 25 or 30 of them. So there's still some, and I'm the guy that knows where to find them now. So,
I can make a call.
no, don't do that. All right. It's looking nice. You were gonna get me a snap ring that you needed.
Yeah.
You were gonna get me a piece of it, or at least get me the rod that it goes to.
Yeah, it's like one of them.
Those tires are gonna look sharp on here.
I'll probably pull the one off
Oh, and you said that he didn't even have friction washers, or were they all broken?
couple of them were broke, but they had the metal washer against the brake shoe, and then the friction washer on the spring. And
Oh, that's
so it was
completely
all put
wrong.
together backwards.
Yeah. Well,
So when
that's
I
what,
found that with the front,
that's what
when
happened.
I found the friction washers. I'm like, okay, I did the front, but I already had the rears on, so I had to pull the rears back off.
and they were wrong
And
too.
they were wrong too. So
Well, you got a list of the stuff you used, right?
he had all
Or
the friction.
Steve does. He had them.
Yeah, they were in the
Okay.
tote thing. New part.
Well, it's kind of what you get when you got people working on these cars that don't understand them, you know?
Right.
It's not, I mean, they don't do stuff like that on purpose. They don't know any better.
Right. I was just amazed that they were actually in there.
Yeah, at least they were on, just in the wrong place.
Right.
They weren't going to do you any good. The brakes wouldn't have worked right. And on these cars, you got to have brakes that work good. Drum brakes are, drum brakes are not as good as disc. Okay. Bill Bartels, Bill brought his chrome back. We're getting it all painted up here on the back sides.
Rear bumpers on.
And bumper pieces he brought back. Is this his front here?
Yeah.
We also took his windshield, cleaned it up. It's really nice. It's an original Mercedes windshield. Still has the little star there. There is a slight scratch from the windshield wiper that we're pretty sure can be buffed out. But because the glass is so nice, we're going to use that. You got this back. This is the piece you saw earlier that did not get plated. Here's his bumpers back, cleaned up and painted the insides. The guards, yeah, he said the guards actually fit now. You remember in previous, great big gaps all through here. So that's fitting. These are fitting decent. There's still some imperfections, but we can't wait for anything to get done again. He's already spent a lot of time and money transporting these or getting these shipped up and so on. They aren't perfect, but they're pretty nice. Just got the windshield frame back this week. It had quite a big dent. Quite a big dent in here. We took that out, filed and contoured it, and it had all kinds of little pits as you saw before. This is very nicely done. I've just run a tap through all the threaded holes. I'm in the process of tapping these last 6 holes here. There's 3 on each side for the door pillars. And we'll get that done. And then we'll mount the windshield frame here in, mount it to the pillars, and get it put on. And we're finishing the gauges, kind of refurbishing the gauges now, so we'll be able to put the gauges on the dash here shortly too.
They're done. They're on the table.
Huh?
They're on the table. They're done.
I think he has all the gauges done but the clock. Is that correct?
I don't have a water temp gauge. I thought for sure I gave him a water temp gauge.
I'll go check. I thought there was a gauge or 2 left that we had to finish up.
I don't think so.
Okay, on Bill's car again, we are getting ready to, we have the leather and all here, getting ready to recover these visors, but I thought I better just make sure that these are correct for his car, and they're not. These visors, the bolt pattern, so if I spend all the time and money recovering these, they aren't even going to fit on the car. They don't fit the windshield frame. These are off a hardtop, which I don't even think he has. And these came from his car with his stuff that came in, right?
Yeah. They were with his part.
And so he has no visors that will even fit the windshield frame. We're going to look around again, but these were sitting with his stuff, came in with his parts. This says right visor 1 screw short. Oh, they're showing the bolt pattern is wrong. So apparently someone already knew, check something. Somebody already knew that the screw short, meaning it won't reach the second hole, is what I'm guessing they're meaning. So those visors aren't going to work, or the mounting hardware brackets aren't going to work. Bet we could use the visors, just have to change these. So we're going to look at that next day or so here.
Well, we don't have to ask.
It's already the end of August, and he would really like his car, so if I recover them and I can put new brackets in here, it would be cheaper than buying the replacement chrome visors, which are quite expensive. So
We need to ask Patty too. She might have took them home with her.
what's she going to do, visors?
She's gonna look at them.
This is chrome for another customer's car, done by the same place. You see some fingerprints and stuff on it, but we're actually having it done here locally, and coming out really nice. But that's what this is for, and this also is for another car that is in for paint right now. This is that surround that goes across the back. We have Bill's already done, don't we?
What?
His surround. Oh, it's already installed in the car? I don't know if I filmed that, but I probably did.
You didn't film the rear bumpers on it.
Oh, you got the rear bumper assembled and on the car?
Yeah.
Then I did not film that. The holes they put in there, is that for mounting the license plate?
In where?
In the bumper. There's two big holes in it.
Hey, we even marked on him when he brought the piece back.
We marked on them for them to weld them shut. And they didn't do it. Shoot. Oh man. They were all plated, so I guess I could have ground the plating off and welded them closed ourselves, but son of a gun. It looks good other than the fact those don't belong there. He may have to get those little stainless covers that snap in to pop those in there. Coming along nicely. Like I said, he's getting the frame on here now. Get some shots as that goes back together and we are able to put the windshield right on the car. Alright, I made some phone calls. My sister's helping me with redoing the leather and so on. Apparently she took Bill's visors apart and found them broken in several places. Rob remembers welding these up right here and right here. Okay, so his frames we can rebuild. So the frames I showed just previously are frames that were pulled out of stock. These came off a hard top, and it's for my sister to be able to see how things are stitched together. So I was entirely wrong about this. I'm not sure what this business about short screw and what have you, but the brackets are all wrong. But these are wrong visors, only being used as patterns. And you'll see that they're also a slightly different size. But she needed to see that to get an idea what the stitching was like. So, frames are going to be able to use. We have issues with these being coming apart. This is supposed to be pressed and crimped into there, and this is all supposed to be plated nicely. So they didn't send these out for plating because they're not assembled, and someone has wrapped metal shims, some copper things around, possibly because these had been broken. At least parts of them have been broken. So we're going to go see if we have some new replacement brackets, nicely plated, that will actually fit into here. But we can go ahead and refinish the visors. So we're looking into that. We're going to be cutting some leather that will go around this. Probably cut one of these apart to inspect what they did inside, make 100% sure we're accurate. We'll have to have some new screws because these are pretty old and dingy, but that's minor. But we're going to need a set of brackets here because they don't look so nice and they've come apart. These pins here are really not designed to fall out. They're kind of prick punched here as they go in. If I can polish these up and put them on and they'll work, when these are screwed on and these are put in here and they're screwed onto the car, these can't fall apart because they're holding the visor together. So having these be loose is not the end of the world. So maybe we'll attempt here to polish these up, save the customer some money, and utilize them. But we'll see how they clean up. We got the front bumper assembled and installed. And you can see since they got them back that they actually fit. We found brake fluid on the floor this morning.
It leaks right out of that seam right there.
And we found that the brake fluid canister leaks right out of the side of the seam. So you got to sandblast that, clean it all up, and you got to solder it. I'll have to solder the whole closed.
And then repaint it.
Repaint it. If you remember on previous videos, large gaps top and bottom here.
Push on those. They might go under.
What's that?
So don't push on the gasket.
Oh.
They might go under the bumper.
So the rear we already filmed. Headlights. We're getting everything under here all put together so we can get the motor popped in it. Working on the wiring, switches and so on. We're putting gauges in it here shortly and wiring the gauges. Gas tank was installed today. You're gonna have a tough time with this grommet back here.
I'll get it on there. I always do.
Yeah, it's just, and one of the bolts broke off that they had put in there
Yeah.
to mount the gas tank. So
Bumpers fit better?
we have to fix. Oh yeah, there was huge gaps.
The back there too?
Yeah, this was squeezed down before, and so it's all opened up now. You can see that everything fits more properly.
Oh, I forgot my screw kit too, so I can't put stone guards on yet.
So the tires have been mounted on his wheels. That's been quite a while ago. We just have them on the car with a few nuts at this point, just so we can roll the car around if we need to. They put the fuel tank in, but they had an issue. Which one was it?
A bolt, before it was even tightened up, it just snapped right on.
So you had to take it all
So we
back
had to
apart.
take the gas tank back down, grind that flat, drill through the bolt head, and tap it.
So the nut inside was still okay?
It's not a nut, it's the bolt head. They welded a bolt from the top.
Oh, down. Okay.
So we just ground it flat and drilled like I had to do with this, because this was the same way. As soon as I tried to tighten that up, it snapped right off, and I had to cut it flat and then drill through it.
And tap a new hole through it.
Tap the bolt itself,
Yeah.
and then, you know, because that gives you a 1/4 inch of thread almost.
Yeah.
And then
You gotta do the same thing here.
you know, now
So it's back
Loctited
in
it.
finally, and your fuel lines are attached. Okay. You see the fuel lines are attached and run, brake lines.
That wasn't fun either.